What happens when you take fly fishing from your home water and start chasing it across the world? Different water, different species, different cultures, but the same passion shows up everywhere. Today we're sitting down with Emilie Björkman and Ted Logart from Loop to talk about Wild Fish, Wild Places, a global series that's all about traveling to some incredible places to fish, meeting the people who live it every day, identifying important conservation issues, and seeing how fly fishing connects it all together. This is the Wet Fly Swing podcast, where I show you the best places to travel to for fly fishing, how to find the best resources and tools to prepare for that big trip, and what you can do to give back to the fish species we all love. Emilie Björkman and Ted Logart are here, and today they're going to take us behind the scenes of Wild Fish, Wild Places and how they put it all together. We're going to find out why the same fly fishing culture shows up everywhere, whether you're in Sweden or in Montana. We're going to find out how they choose locations and how this evolved over time and what they saw on the ground in Montana, Sweden, Iceland, some of the other amazing places they've traveled around the planet. And we're going to find out how they're shifting this as they approach their next season. All right, let's jump into it. Here we go. Emilie Björkman and Ted Logart. You can find them at looptackle.com and find this series on YouTube, Wild Fish, Wild Places. Here we go. How you both doing?
We're good. Really good. The spring finally start to come here in Sweden as well. So this fly fishing season is getting closer, for sure.
Yeah, it's one long winter behind us now, so it's all good.
Good. Yeah, we're getting close, right? We're heading out for Atlantic salmon too this year for the first time for me. We're not heading to Sweden, although that's on my bucket list, and we've done some podcast episodes in that area.
You should.
I know how unique Sweden is. There's a lot of some good public water we've heard and all that over there. So today we're going to really focus on the show that you both put together, Wild Fish, Wild Places. Folks can find that on YouTube. Emilie, you're obviously a star of this, Emilie Björkman here. We're going to talk about kind of how this all came to be and get into what the focus is. I know conservation is a big part of everything we do. But maybe we can start with Ted. Maybe we start with you. What is your connection to Wild Fish, Wild Places? When did this program and Loop, when did this connection start for you?
Well, I think it started when, to go back, me and Emilie has been doing TV shows and YouTube films for like 6 years, and when Emilie got hired by Loop and as I got it, she was about to do some YouTube series, and she came to me with the idea, and we kind of put the concept together, and that's it.
And so Emilie, It sounds like you are part of the vision of this. What was your first vision of this Wild Fish, Wild Places, and what were you trying to achieve here?
Oh, good question. I mean, I think if we go back, because me and Ted have been working together for over 6 years and doing similar production, we love to be out by the river and fishing for salmon, and we also want to some kind protect our lifestyle, and we did a film Free Falling, and the salmon run started to decline, and we felt, okay, we need to do something. What can we do? We do a film, and on that road it just continued. And me and Ted really like to do more. We'd like to fish, but we also want to highlight the places and the fish and how you can protect it and how you can inspire and everything around it, so my daughters can fish for them too, and be by the river and connect with the nature. So I think it's a big passion for me and a lifestyle that I was really happy that I could bring into work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And you were able to travel around, right, when these, I think there's 6 of these shows that are out there. Maybe describe that. It's not only Atlantic salmon, right? Or what was the focus on species did you have from the beginning? Did you know? Because there's, we do a lot of travel episodes all around the world, and there's, hundreds, thousands of places. How did you pick those first shows, where to go?
Oh, Ted, you go first.
Yeah, but I totally agree, Dave, that it's so many places that that you can go, and I think it kind of, the choices were kind of organic in the beginning. I mean, a little bit was, of course, rooted in some kind of marketing strategy for the brand, but also where we wanted to go, and where we felt like that we could hook up with great people to be able to tell some kind of story from that place. And I think that's, to go back to what Emilie was talking a little bit earlier, I think we are really interested in the lifestyle and the people, and especially the people who have kind of devoted their life to fly fishing in one way or another. So I think that's kind of what sets the direction for where we go and what we do, in a sense. And all that small talk. we love the small talk that just happens along the river when everybody forgets about there's a camera there, and I just I just love it when we get into that. So yeah.
This is good. No, I think the great thing is that we have these videos that we're kind of priming everybody to understand what this is about, and they can go over right now and watch these, right? And I think the first one was Montana the first in the series, or maybe describe that, the places that you traveled to.
Yeah, Montana was the first that was got released, but we filmed Patagonia first, right, Emilie? That's how it went, yeah.
Yes, it was Patagonia first. Yeah, then was Montana, Iceland, Sweden, Canada, New Zealand.
New Zealand. Wow. Yeah, you got the whole world covered. This is cool. And maybe take it to Montana, since that one, obviously that's probably the closest for us, to where we're at, but what was maybe give us kind of high level 30,000 foot of that Montana show. What was the conservation focus? What was the species you're chasing there?
I mean, Montana, first I must say, like the fly fishing vibe in Montana, just arriving to Missoula, and it feels like everyone is talking the fly fishing language there. You really feel the fly fishing vibe. I just loved it. It was so nice to just be there. And like Montana and also Sweden, the bugs is important for the hatches. And we have talked with some researchers in Sweden that talk about declining of the bugs. And we understand that is happening in Montana as well, or everywhere, I guess, with the world changing. So that was something we wanted to highlight in that film episode about the bugs. And also just to feel the fly fishing vibe in Montana. What do you fish for? The cutthroat and the brown trout, and just get into that vibe really. And that was super awesome. And meeting all the really super cool people like Simon Shu and Carly, and that also live and breathe fly fishing.
Do you remember, Emilie, when we were sitting out on the bench outside of one of the fly shops in Craig, and all the guys were just rigging up with, getting the boats, and they were just, talking probably, rubbish against each other, and, just, and we just, we were just stunned. It was so cool just sitting there listening to that talk. It was just mesmerizing. I think we would have been sitting there still if we just had the chance.
That's cool. Yeah, just the talk, right? Just on the back of the tailgate. And just,
we really it. That was so awesome. And it's like in Craig, is it 3 or 4 fly shop in that little village?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little tiny town. It's got however many fly shops, and it's the Missouri, right? You're right there on the Missouri River, the Big Mo. So, and that's cool because we're actually going to be heading there this year too. We have a dry fly school we're doing with On to Mark Lodge, so we're excited. I haven't fished the Missouri yet, but it's pretty amazing. So so that's it. And then what was the focus? So did you maybe break down the conservation piece? Did you talk to some local groups? Because I know recently we had the Salmon Fly Project founders on, and they talked about what they're doing. They're just, like you said, they're collecting aquatic invertebrates so they can document what we currently have and see, what's changing. But how was that? How did that fit into the piece on that Montana show? Did you talk to like biologists or entomologists or the guides, or how did you touch on that piece?
Yeah, do you remember, Emilie? I think we were in contact with the Salmon Fly project, and but unfortunately, we didn't manage to fit in a visit with them. So that kind of made us reverse engineer the whole stuff. So and since the bug situation is kind of universal, basically all over, then we did the interview with kind of the Swedish authority on bugs, and he asked, referred to the situation in the US as well. So and that's have been a little bit of how we have worked with scientists. Other episode as well. When we were in Canada, we were talking to both Gustav Hellström, which is kind of he's a kind of a superstar when it comes to monitoring migratory fish. So he goes all over, but he's Swedish, so we talked salmon problems with him, and Iceland, which is a Norwegian authority on Atlantic salmon. So since it's, fly fishing is of course super local, but the problems are often in kind of a global context as well. So it gets kind of relatable for people all over in a way. So that's I was about to say nice. It's not nice when it's a problem, but it's kind of, I think it's, you can
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we met up also with Trout Unlimited in Missoula.
Okay.
Yeah, looking at their work they are doing, and that was awesome.
Okay. I know Maggie Human has been involved in that. She's been doing some of the entomology. We had her on the podcast as well. And so we'll put some links out in the show notes to some of those episodes so people can get a little background on that. But I'm interested in the Swedish entomologist, or the person you talked to. Can we find that in the Montana show, or is it in the one on Sweden?
No, it's actually in the Montana show. I think it's
nice.
about 6 minutes into
good.
To it. So yeah, it kind of bridges from when we were fishing the Blackwater, and the guides were talking about the decline of insects, and then we kind of bridged over to this mountain village in Sweden, having the same, similar situation.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, and maybe just give us a heads up on the places. So where did you travel? You mentioned it before at the start. It was New Zealand, Montana, Sweden, and Canada. What were the other two?
Argentina and Iceland.
Iceland. Okay, and so there's a series of 6 shows.
Yeah, and so that was the first season, and now we are out producing the second.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When is the second season going to go out?
Well, it's a never-ending story, so we just continue. So we have tried to release 1 episode each month. So we just continue. We released the New Zealand one in January, and February. And we just came home from Italy, the Dolomites. And that one we're going to release now in April.
Oh, wow. Cool. And this is good. Okay, so this is going to continue. This series is going to continue. You're going to be traveling. What do you think is what has been the biggest challenge of putting this series together? Have there been any road bumps along the way?
Oh my God.
Dave. Finally, we're getting into this.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So the stories are going to come out now.
Yeah. Ted, knock yourself out.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do the disclaimer already, because I have a tendency to turn into some kind of a victim when it comes to how hard it is to
get fly fishing on film, right?
Yeah, no, but I mean, of course, it's a huge privilege to be able to do this, but it is also a lot of hard work, and I think definitely the biggest challenge with doing this, 6 episodes in kind of 10 months is the time. It's a time limit, and when we have done similar projects in the past, me and Emilie, we have done it in our home waters, in the northern part of Sweden. So then you have the chance, you can always come back. I mean, if something happens, you can always come back 2 weeks later and try to grab the shots that you that you didn't get, that you can hunt down the people that you really would like to talk to. But I mean, this is Iceland. I think we did in like 3.5 or 4 days. New Zealand was longer, of course, since it's such a long travel. But so you really need to get all the bits for the story that you want to tell. And then it's always this trade-off between, do we need another fish, or do we need a bigger fish, or do we, prioritize to go with a, a story bit that, makes the story better. And I think that's it's kind of stressful, and it's really stressful.
It is stressful
to be able to make the right decisions. So
experience the waters of Bristol Bay at Togiak River Lodge, where fly fishing meets Alaska's rugged beauty. This is the place to complete the Alaska Grand Slam with all 5 salmon species, rainbow trout, Arctic char, and more, where each day offers a new Alaskan adventure. You can visit TogiakLodge.com right now to start planning your Bristol Bay experience with Togiak River Lodge. Golden Fly Shop isn't your average fly shop. They have a 12-foot shark painted like a cutthroat hovering over a huge selection of the best rods in the business, a massive assortment of tying materials, and their famous steakhouse streamer display. And it's the hub for a community of anglers who never stop tinkering with new ways to catch fish. Sometimes the conversation behind the counter includes what hatches are going off and what techniques are working best. Then tales of destination fishing adventures, sought-after species, or a good old congratulations when a customer brings stories of finally connecting with that fish they've searched for forever. With a growing online store and a budding YouTube channel, you'll be able to follow along with their fun antics, international adventures, and helpful fly fishing tips. Golden Fly Shop, where the community is hanging out, even if they're supposed to be working. That's goldenflyshop.com. Check them out right now. Maybe take us to the who's there on the scene. So you it sounds like you both are kind of producing this. Who's involved in the production and putting this together? We haven't talked a ton about Loop, but maybe I would like to hear about that too, the connection to Loop, because I've known about them most of my life, and I know all the great work they're doing. But give us a heads up of like who's involved in the production and how Loop fits into this.
Maybe you go, Emilie.
Okay, I go.
I know I don't have to. You have to name all the names,
No.
but just kind of. I'm curious if is this just you two out there with a one camera person, or is this a bigger production sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's a 2-man band, Dave. So it's me and Ted. Before we go somewhere, we do the research. We try to connect with the people and build a story, and what do we want to tell, and the conservation around it, and just find the places before. And then when we go there, we are so happy, and I am so thankful. I mean, all the people we have been fishing and working with, they put all effort into this, and they also want to do this really good. And that means like 1,000% for us, because it's only me and Ted out there. So we are so depending on the people we are fishing with. And when we go out there, we have a script that me and Ted write before we try to do scenes, but fishing is fishing and everything happens. But so we have something to lean back on. And just so we have like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And Ted is the only camera guy out there, and I am trying to be a host and to help to do a portrait of the person we're fishing with. So yeah, it's us. And of course
it's you.
Yeah. And so we work a lot when we were out. So just making sure, like Ted says, so we have everything with us. We like go through the scripts during the nights of like, what do we have to capture tomorrow? And, so it's fishing is fishing, and what can we do else? And it's really fun, but it's also a little bit stressful, because it's only us out there, and we want to do
limited time.
Yeah, exactly. And when we come home, we collect all pieces, and Ted do all the edit. And
wow.
Then we are done with the one episode. And out traveling again. Yep.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah, but it's I think that Emily's saying that I'm doing the edit in the sense that I am the one, pushing the buttons, but the editing part is something that we both are very involved in. We are, doing the selects and the assembly cuts and the dailies and everything basically together. And I think in the beginning we were so, keen on trying to do a, kind of documentary style to it, and when we say that we write a script, we definitely write a script, but we don't really, it's more like we outline scenes, what we think that the scene could be about, and then we try to. It's basically like Emilie decides on what she's going to talk to the talent about, and then it's up to me to try and capture it when she starts talking, because that can happen basically any time, since we really want it to feel as natural as possible, and to be the camera as little as possible involved in what's happening. But of course that's always a trade-off, because sometimes you just need things to make the story cohesive in a way. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, of course.
That's amazing.
And of course, I mean, before we do like the year plan, we sit down with the people, the marketing crew on Loop, and just discussing, and so it connect with the brand and feels right for the brand. So we are aligned with that also. So they are highly involved also, of course.
Yeah. And on some productions, we also have brand manager Ali Parkin with us, who is helping out a lot, and he's definitely a decent camera guy as well. So when we get into some hectic situation, he can take up the camera and get us a different angle as well, and that's super helpful in editing to get angles. I think that's the most important part of getting angles.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I mean, I've watched some of them, and the camera, the videography is really beautiful. It's
thank you.
Yeah, it looks unique, and you've definitely, the angles and everything you've got is really cool. So I'm excited to watch the rest of them. But yeah, so, and then talk about Loop a little bit, because we know Loop very well. I feel like I'm always thinking, Loop, obviously where it's from over, in Sweden there. And now is it headquartered in Sweden? Is that the headquarters?
Good question. I mean, so Loop started in Sweden in the 80s.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah, but now we are spread all over the world. So my closest boss is in UK and in Scotland, and the brand manager is sitting in Scotland, and then I have a few in Stockholm. So yeah, just all over the world now.
Yeah, all over. Okay. Like I said, my dad had a little fly shop when I was a kid. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, and I remember because I'm old enough to remember, I remember we had Loop. That was a brand that we had in there, and I've always remembered that. I think we had some, but I didn't know it very well. And so now I'm kind of full circle that with the podcast, I've learned a lot more about it. But what do you think is the focus of Loop? It sounds like on these episodes, did you use Loop rods? Was that kind of the part of it? Did they cover kind of a little bit of everything? Trout fishing, salmon, steelhead, everything?
Yeah, exactly. So they have the whole range for all the fishing gear, in rods and in reels and in clothing these days. So yeah, they got it all. And Loop have always, like a brand, have always been like, correct me Ted if I'm wrong, like innovative and trying to like the technical fly fishing gear, and nowadays bringing in much more conservation into the brand, which is awesome. And really like the ethos around like a respect for the fish and the rivers and wild places that inspires to Loop's products in a way, and with our series. So yeah.
So I think it's just so cool. I think for both me and Emilie to have to work with that Loop as a brand is putting all this, efforts into both conservation and to, storytelling and bringing, trying to bring storytelling to the fly fishing community. And I mean, as a Swede growing up, Loop was kind of, the coolest thing that you could have.
Yeah, Loop is huge. Right. It doesn't get any bigger than that, right?
No, and especially not in Sweden in the mid 90s. I think it's kind of a national treasure of Sweden, in that sense.
Yeah, it is. In the mid 90s, is that when? Because that's when I actually remember it. I'm old enough to remember that the mid 90s was. I think that's when we first got Loop into the fly shop in our shop, right? So I feel like. So, I mean, Loop's been around the U.S. for a long time, right? This is they're not new to the game. Is that something, do you feel like Loop, it sounds like you cover everything, but, obviously Atlantic salmon, that's a species, that's this iconic species around the world. Do you feel like that was the first thing they did really well with Loop, or do you guys kind of remember those? And you focus on that, right, when you went to Canada? Yeah,
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Emilie, but I mean, as a brand, I think, and when you go back to the mid 90s when I got into fly fishing, or early 90s, I think it was the underhand cast and the Goran Anderson cutting up lines, and I mean that was the way that that I got introduced to salmon fishing. So I think they've have a huge impact on the way that people salmon fish all over the world, and then it's the large arbor reel, of course. I don't think I understood that the technical aspects of it, but I mean it just looked so cool, so you just wanted it. I think it's it was as easy as that. So right. I think it's kind of an honor to be in this context now when
you're producing
when you
the show.
Have that heritage. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, is that the same for you, Emilie, or what is your connection on Loop with Loop?
Yeah, I mean 100% like Ted's. Loop, coming from Sweden, being the cool brand that you always looked up to, and working 100% with Loop today. Yeah, it's hard work and so awesome, to put it in words.
That's cool. We mentioned the Canada. So where did you go exactly in Canada?
So we fished in River Hunt. Sorry, Dave, Hunt River, maybe they say.
Oh, Hunt River. Okay.
Hunt River, yeah. Okay.
And this was for Atlantic salmon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the first time I dry fly fished for salmon, because here in Sweden, we're swinging flies. So that was super cool.
You dry fly. That's what we're going to be hopefully doing too. And it's interesting because I know we've had, we did an episode with Topher Brown over here, and we talked Atlantic salmon. He was heading up there in that part of eastern Canada. And I know he talked about this one trip where he had the greatest, or no, he had the worst. He got skunked. Literally, they were on this 2-week adventure, into the famous waters of eastern Canada, and they got skunked. But then the next year they came back and they had their best trip ever. So I feel like there's these back and forth. What was it like for you? What was it challenging to find those those Atlantic salmon out there on the trip?
No, I mean I didn't have anything to compare with for once.
Oh, so this is the trip. So you had a good trip. You had, or at least fishing wise, it was easier.
Oh yeah, but I have to say it took a while until I understand that kind of technique in fishing. To present the dry fly and everything. So I was fishing, and I have Arne Baldersson in the pool next to me, and I saw him catching fish after fish, and I didn't catch a thing. So it took a while, and I saw plenty of salmon in that pool.
Yeah. But you did.
It was awesome. And so when I got a little understanding for it, we were fishing all kind of different flies. But when I started fishing with the bombers and presenting them and seeing that salmon coming up in slow motion, just like a trout for a dry fly, that was insane. So cool. Yeah. Wow. So the fishing we had, for once, we really had some good fishing when we were there.
You did?
Yeah.
And so, you had the dry flies, which you don't, there's not a lot of places in the world you can get the good action like that. But other than the dry flies, was the fishing if you compare it to Sweden, how similar was what you're doing there in Canada versus what you do in Sweden for Atlantics?
Well, and I think it differs a lot. I mean,
A lot.
To fish a bomber or a dry in Sweden is very rare, and we swing for salmon, and it's big rods. It's almost always double-handed, especially. I mean, at least if you're in the beginning of the season, and I think also, I mean, there's so much fewer fish that you fish on. On the other hand, I think that maybe you are the Swedish salmon is, can be at least a little bit bigger. I mean, 100 centimeter salmon in Sweden isn't. I mean, it's a huge fish, but it's nothing. It doesn't
normal.
Exactly, and I mean, you can get up to 120, and then people like, oh, okay, that's a. So I think it's there's a fewer, but maybe bigger. But I think that just the way that you fish them is completely different.
It is, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, and just for the transition for those that don't have the centimeters to inches, so 120 would be almost 50. No, it's all right. 50 inches. We should know this by now. We should have this down, but I still struggle with it. And then 100 is like 40. Yeah, so you're basically talking 100 centimeters is like a 40-inch fish, which is giant. But then 120 is almost 50 inches, which is super giant. Yeah, so we're talking pound-wise, maybe these are the fish. What would that 120 fish be, 20-centimeter fish? How many pounds roughly would that be?
The one you caught, Ted, 120, what did that weigh?
That weighed at 18.5, I think.
18.5,
kilo.
Kilos. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. And I'll do that really quick.
They are huge.
Yeah, so right. Yeah, gosh. Okay, so 40 pounds and bigger. Okay, so that gives it just a rough, and that's the thing with Canada is that they're not quite as big, but there's a lot more fish, it sounds like, in that area. What was the conservation focus there? Did you keep it high level? I know we've had conversations about, just like you said, the worldwide, kind of changes in populations. Did you focus on that area of Canada, or did you look more broadly?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Emilie, we kind of went to, when we got the opportunity to visit Labrador and the hunt, we kind of went there with the, with the idea that were supposed to be what a salmon river could look like in 2025. Yes. That's a healthy river when, not so super affected by all the negative stuff that are affecting Atlantic salmon on so many other places. So that was kind of the role model. And then we went to Sweden and to Norway, and we did a stop in Iceland, just because that we had made a show in Iceland earlier, and talked about the problems that, obviously Norway has a huge problem with the fish farming industry.
Oh, the fish farming, yeah,
being so massive, and with the lice, killing off a lot of
diseases and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Sweden also have seen a huge decline the last. And we don't have fish farming, but somehow the fish is the runs are declining the last 10 years pretty dramatically, and especially within the recent 2 years.
I feel like Iceland and Eastern Canada are the two places that people still are maybe the strongholds.
Yeah, exactly. And as we got it, it's Iceland is more like, they are seeing a growth of fish farms in Iceland, and it's more like what the potential harm could be, and there they see the escapist from the farm that can be devastating for a small river with a small salmon population, and then of course we have this the global warming, the climate change.
Oh right, yeah, and the climate change
that affects the everywhere with
food and temperatures, all that. We don't exactly know what's going on, but there's changes.
Yeah, so something is affecting the everything, but the salmon in this case. Yeah,
that's right. And did you talk about? I think that's a species in the U.S. that has similar declines as steelhead, There's a lot of similarities between steelhead. In fact, when I first started steelhead fishing, I was reading books that were written for Atlantic salmon, and there was a lot of, because we fish for, it's interesting. And here we have we have winter steelhead and summer steelhead. And winter steelhead are more of those cold water fish that they're down deeper. You got to get deeper to them. But summer steelhead, I mean, you can fish and they come up to the surface like for a fly. And so they're more similar, I think, to Atlantic salmon, right? And some of those places you've probably heard of them, the Dean River, the Deschutes, places where they have summers, right? The fish that go way in. But I think we see similar declines. I mean, it's happening right now, these ups and downs, and we're kind of like, okay, what's going on? How do we make a difference? What do you think is the big thing when you look at that? How do people listening, how can they help? I know that watching the videos is good because you kind of get knowledgeable about what's going on, but what would you tell somebody if they feel like they're kind of stuck, like there's nothing they can do? What would you tell them?
I mean, it's difficult to do it all, but everyone can do something. So I guess just connect with your local fishermen, like
like to you.
shops.
You mentioned to you, right?
Yeah,
fly shops
exactly.
And to you,
And management that you have in your area, what to like connect on your home waters and what you can do there. I think that's a good start.
Yep. So connect to the local groups, and they're likely have people on staff that know what's going on. You can maybe do some volunteer work, river cleanups. I know in the Missouri we talked about the Missouri at the start. We're doing a big river cleanup this year and doing some other stuff, right? And I feel like that's kind of a cool way to get people involved in education, right? Just to realize, maybe it's not going to save the salmon or the fish necessarily, in one shot, but it's getting more people out on the water to understand there is a problem. I think some people, do you feel like that in Sweden? That some people don't even realize there's a problem?
Absolutely. I mean, when my mom saw the episode we did in Sweden where we were talking about dams, how like building dams and how big trout population in whole Sweden have disappeared because of dams. And my mom didn't have a clue that, so, I mean, it's not easy. It's easy for us that is so involved and reading and watching everything about fly fishing. But people that maybe don't fly fish know this kind of stuff. So I think it's important to get out there and inspire to get out there and be by the water. Because I think when we stop fishing and being outside and, who will be there? Maybe they build a dam instead, So I really believe in just connecting.
Quick shout out to today's sponsor, AVC Rig. They're the team in Loveland, Colorado, turning regular vans into full-blown adventure machines. Looking for a full build from the ground up or just their killer aluminum cabinetry and storage systems? AVC Rig helps you create a setup that's lightweight, rock solid, and built for life on the road, perfect for anyone chasing fish and wild places. And here's the best part. They'll be at the Denver Fly Fishing Show, so you can step inside their rigs, meet the crew, and see what makes their work so dialed in. Stop by, say hi, and let them know you heard about them on the Wet Fly Swing podcast. And if you want to learn more right now and start planning your dream rig, go to avcrig.com. That's avcrig.com. Albert, Victor, Conrad, rig.com. AVC Rig. Check them out now. Trout Routes by Onyx is built for fly anglers who want better intel without spending hours digging for the information. You'll get access to public land maps, stream access points, regulations, and even road and trail maps all in one place. It's become my go-to app for scouting new trips. You can check them out right now. Go to wetflyswing.com/trout routes and download the app today. Well, you mentioned, Emily, with the kids. I have a couple of kids, 12 and 14, and I find that a struggle for me because they've been outdoors. I mean, when they were 6 months old, we had them in the boat on the water. We're kind of extreme, trying to, we just always love the outdoor, right? And but I feel like for me, it's a struggle now that they're this age that they understand, and I'm like trying to educate them on and give them some hope. I feel like that's a big thing. What do you tell your kids, Emily, or maybe Ted? I'm not sure. Just like, how do you give the kids hope? What do you tell them to realize, wow, the world isn't going to blow up tomorrow?
No, exactly. Just being outside and be by the rivers and be in the forest and maybe make them sit down in the couch and watch an episode once in a while, and like, show them. And like here in Sweden, like a couple of months ago, they invented a new word, biophobic. That means that you are scared of nature or disgusted by nature. Yeah.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I think it's more important than ever to connect your kids to the outdoor, because the future generation, and
Man.
but my niece, she's 14, and she loves our series and watch it all over again, and she wants to so I feel really hopeful for next generation.
That's really cool.
And I think fly fishing is just an awesome way to connect to the outdoor, and you don't have to catch fish. I mean, just be outside learning and see all the bugs, and
I think that's what's cool about, again, we're trying to make sure these fish don't go extinct and stuff like that. But it's interesting, you don't have to catch. That's the cool thing about salmon and steelhead. I feel like a lot of people, of course, catching the fish is a goal. But if you're out there just working on your spay cast, sometimes that's all you need, right? I feel like that's kind of cool. A cool part of fly fishing is that you don't have to, catch a fish or a bunch of fish to have a good time. That's what you're saying.
100%.
Yeah, cool. Well, this is good. I never, biophobic, that's definitely a one I haven't really thought about or heard much. But yeah, I guess it makes sense with the kids these days with all the devices and all that stuff. But well, I don't want to, I think we've got a little bit of time here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So on the shows, obviously, we're going to be able to watch everything now, but what would you tell somebody listening now if they haven't seen any of the programs, that we haven't covered today? What would you like them to know, the highlight here?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's when I go into this, Ted, when I go into these podcasts, I have this struggle of like, there's so much to talk about, but it's always good to focus it. I feel like today we focused it a little bit right on Sweden and what we have going, which I'm interested in. I mean, like I said, I think that the Sweden thing is interesting because we hear a lot about Norway and private waters and how you have to be rich to fish. But what we've learned is Sweden actually has public waters, which is exciting, right?
Yeah.
People can go over there and fish. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best part.
So, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Is there anything, high level? Like that would be a big thing I would want to make sure people didn't miss, that there are opportunities to fish in Sweden, Norway. We've talked about a number of things. I think we've hit on a little bit of where you guys have gone in the first 6 shows in the series. But is there anything else big we've missed that you want to let people know if, before they go over and watch these things?
That we are continuing doing episodes and being out there. Yeah. We're releasing the Italy one now in April, and then we're gonna do plenty of more episodes this year, and if we survive we will continue next year, I hope. Doing episodes. And
that's right.
And I have a feeling that hopefully I'm wrong, but that we need more fly fishers in the world. And I hope that the series inspire people to get out there and, go deeper into nature.
Definitely.
And I think, also it's we are super grateful with the feedback that's have been, reaching us from viewers, that they, really like the stories and the format and the, I mean that's what makes it all worth it. All the struggles, in a way that people, you get the feeling that people are appreciating it, and maybe even, as Emilie said, being inspired by it in some way. It's super rewarding, definitely.
That's huge. What is when you started the project, finishing the first season, did it change or evolve quite a bit from what your initial concept was getting into it? Or is it pretty much how it turned out, kind of how you kind of saw it as you were writing those scripts?
Yeah, I think that's a super interesting question. But I think it's, the kind of vision that we had before, taking the experience from the other production that we have done in the past, and just, cherry picking the things that we liked from those and trying to put it into this concept. I think it turned out pretty much as we would have hoped. I think it pretty much aligned with the vision, at least as what I saw in front of me. Then I definitely think that we hugely underestimated the amount of work that you have to do for. It's kind of exponential. I mean, if you do one episode or one film, that's kind of an isolated thing. But if you do 6 and you have to write script when you're editing, and you have to do location scouting and talent search. It's kind of gets exponential in that way, and I think that was came as a little bit of a surprise.
But it is so much fun. It is fun.
Yeah,
it's not only a struggle. Fun. We need to say that.
Yeah, you're doing this amazing thing. You're traveling the world and doing cool things. But no, I hear you. It's similar for us. I think that we have almost a daily interview podcast, which if you ask anybody in fly fishing, I think if you ask anybody, I don't think anybody's even close to doing that. But it's, and these are not just short snippets. These are full length episodes like we're doing. So for me, it was always a little bit of a goal, but the work to get there, and you're right, it takes a lot. You're in the middle of it during the week and you're like, oh, okay. I go back to this book that I've really loved. It's called I've said this quite a bit on the podcast, but the War of Art, War of Art. And so Stephen Pressfield, right? This is kind of a famous, but he basically said, anything you love that you want to be successful on, you've got to be almost like a Marine, like a military person. You got to be able to take the abuse, and wake up early every morning, even when you don't want to. When you're sick, you got to be able to, like this guy literally lived out of his car for like 10 years because he was a struggling writer. But guess what? Eventually he wrote a book that became a movie and he became rich. So it's this kind of funny thing. You're right. But for me, I think about that because I realize some of these mornings, are times where you're like, oh man, I don't feel like doing the work. But you're like, you know what? That's what pros do. Pros get up and do the work.
Exactly.
Do you feel like, I think that's kind of what you're talking about, right? You guys have done the work, but it's pretty rewarding. How does it feel now where you're at when you can now see these shows that are out there? What's that feel like for both of you now as you look back on it?
I am super proud. I'm super proud of Ted. Because it's but Ted, I'll give you some. But Ted is walking around with that heavy backpack and this camera 24/7 when we're out, and that we managed to get it together in some way. We get it's and the great feedback. So I am super proud of what we have done together with Loop.
What about you, Ted? That's pretty awesome, I'm sure, to hear. What's it like for you? I feel like what you're doing, it's all kind of this artistic thing, but for you, is it just easy for you to go out there and get the shot, or does it, do you have to work to find that shot? You know what I mean? Because for me, I got a phone in my pocket. I'm like, oh man, how do I get even a snapshot of a good fish? Like, does that come easy to you?
No, definitely not. I actually, just when you were talking, I placed an order for that book, The War of Art, because it really resonated with me.
Oh, love it. You're going to love it.
I think it's
going to make you feel good because you're going to realize, oh, okay, when I feel like that, it's okay. That's putting the word. He calls it, this thing he calls it his muse. It's this thing in the back of your head that everybody has that says, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You can't. Why should you be the one that makes a video for Loop? And it keeps telling you that, but you got to battle through that resistance. And then once you get through the resistance is when you get there.
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, but I think it's I am just super grateful for, of course, and proud of Emilie as well. I think, and I always said to Emilie that I think she is kind of one of a kind in the fly fishing industry. I think she's totally unique. So be able to work with her is really, really fulfilling in every sense of the word. And then I also think that it's kind of a beautiful thing when you have these incredible people that we get to portrait on camera, and they are kind of, they are lending us their, life achievements in a way. Yeah, I mean, they've been fly fishing for, their whole life and have been learning so much along their journey. And we get to portray that, and then I think that's actually one of the the biggest pressure that I think we feel, that we need to make these people justice. We want to make them proud. If they feel, oh, this is not really, oh, did I come off like that?
Right.
That would be just awful. So I think that's when you get a thumbs up from Simon Chu or Yvonne, then it's that feels really, really good.
It feels good when you got it. You got it right. That you're getting the feedback right. People are you're hearing it from people saying, yeah, you did it. You got it right.
Yeah. And that, I mean, like we didn't mess up. I think that's, that's kind of nice.
Yes. That's true.
Yeah. Well, I think that, Emilie, one question I have, before we get out of here in a little bit, I think is really one we don't always talk about, but I think it's out there. And you as a female angler, I think is probably a great person to talk about. We've talked a lot about it in the U.S. because like Orvis had this 50-50, campaign trying to get more women out on the water. Because it was always this fly fishing, at least in the U.S., has always been like this old white guy thing. It's the old white guy, right? But like not as much diversity, not as many women, all that. But I think we've done some good things here. What's that? Do you think about that at all from your perspective? Are there more women getting involved in fly fishing around the world in Sweden?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I started the Sport Fishing Academy to become a guide 2012 or 11, before social media, there was, and you saw no female anglers in magazine or blogs, or the only women fly fisher I found in blogs on website was April Vokey.
Oh, really? Right, April.
Yeah, but no one in Sweden. It was so difficult to find other. And the class, I went to like a sport fishing academy in Sweden. It's a 2-year academy where you learn how to, guiding and tourism and conservation and how to start your own business. And in that class, it was me and 25 guys.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. And that was a shock for me because I grew up with my parents, both mom and dad, fishing a lot since I grew up. So I got so surprised when I started the school. So after the school, I started my own business doing classes for only women. And that was in 2013. And so many women just showed up and wanted to do the fly tying courses and casting. And I did guiding trips. And yes, like I had to say no because there were so many women who wanted to get involved. So I think something is changing now. I see more and more women getting into fly fishing. Absolutely. Yeah. But it's still a lot of work that had to be done in magazines, in films, and everything. I think super important, and I think it's even more important that everyone is fly fishers. See it more like that, and not a woman that is fly fishing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think we are getting there, but it's awesome with all the different classes and things happening right now. 100%.
Right. That's the other cool thing about what you have going is that since you've been doing this, you're inspiring, lots of, I'm sure, new female anglers out there, right, who watch the video and ultimately
I hope so.
We'll get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And both my daughters are totally into fishing. So hopefully they also want to continue the journey.
Gotcha.
We need more.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. And Ted, what about you? It sounds like Emilie's got started with her parents. How did you get started in fly fishing? Have you been doing this a while?
Oh, yes. I think if you grow up in the northern part of Sweden, you don't really, there's not really a choice, so you don't really reflect on whether you go fishing or not. So I think, no, I've been fishing all my life, and I think I was like, 13, 14 when I got into fly fishing and actually it's kind of funny that we went to the same school, me and Emilie, that this is Sport Fishing Academy, but I did it 10 years before.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So I'm much older. I started working as a guide in year 2000, and then I got into writing and photography for magazines, and even worked as an editor for a fly fishing magazine in Scandinavia for a while, and then somehow, turned into videography further on. And so I think fly fishing is, it's been, the constant of my life. It's just taken different approaches to it. Yeah. And I'm really happy that I nowadays don't pick up the camera instead of the rods. I think it's a nice. It's no pressure on me. It's somebody else who's going to do the work, and I just feed off it. It's perfect.
Exactly. That's cool. Right on. Well, give us a couple. I always like to get a couple of tips out of as we're in here on fishing. What is the species? It sounds like obviously Atlantic salmon. That's kind of your home waters. Maybe give us a tip. Let's start with you, Emilie. Like anything, we're going, like I said, we're going to Mountain Waters Resort. We're going to Newfoundland, which is not far from Labrador there across the, and it's going to be my first trip. What would you tell me to have a better chance at catching one of those fish on a dry fly?
Oh, wow. Okay, I have only done that once, but it's really interesting, Dave, because I was fishing with Yvonne and Mauro.
Oh, you were? Oh, you're fishing with Yvonne Charn?
Yes. And he gave me a little tiny flimp.
Oh, he did. So you fished one of his little pheasant tail flies.
Yes. And I caught salmon on that too. And on the other cast, I was casting a big bomber, and I was catching a salmon on that too. So
yeah, it's all good. I mean,
it's all good.
What was the advice that Yvonne? What did he give you? Did he give you any advice? Did he tell you anything?
Oh, plenty, many.
He did.
I mean, yeah, with fishing that fly, he was like almost flicking it a bit. I remember giving like the fly some movements.
Some movement, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And because I never thought I would catch a salmon on that tiny fly,
Yeah.
So that was super cool.
Was it like a small little, like a size like 10 or 12 or something like that? Or
yeah, pretty.
Or I guess that's
maybe smaller even. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe smaller. It was like a trout fly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was in that size. Yeah, and also Yvonne, I learned a lot fishing with Yvonne and Mauro because they are very about the details, about fishing the right streamline of the water next to the rock. Okay, there is the salmon. Bam, there you go.
Right.
So very thorough with the cast and not doing like I do sometimes when I fish in Sweden. I just max out and just push the double hander and But so just read the water before you start fishing. Yeah, I think especially in those smaller waters. Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Basically, we've heard that quite a bit. The fact that, you don't want to just cast mindlessly out there and swing the fly, cast and swing. You want to actually focus on trying to fish the fly, right? Know what it's doing under there. Try to find that seam where you think that fish is.
Yeah.
And then fish the fly, right? That's awesome.
Exactly.
Cool. And what about you, Ted? Do you have a tip for us on, it could be, Sweden if you're home waters or if we're out there for salmon? What would you tell us?
Well, and now I got some really good time to think about a really good tip for you. And I didn't come up with anything. I just reflected on that, how sloppy I'm getting at fishing. I have a salmon river just on the backside of my house, and 20 minutes to one of Sweden's best rivers. And I kind of set up the rod with in May, and then I just leave it basically with the same fly throughout the season.
You do.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's terrible. I think so. Instead of giving you a tip, I would make you a promise that the year of 2026 I will start changing salmon flies, and I can get back to you.
Oh, good.
After the season,
let's do that.
if a fly worked.
Yeah, good. Well, let's circle back around after you finish this next season of the series, and we'll see how you did with your changing up the flies.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't be more of a help to you.
No, those are good.
I will keep my fingers crossed, though.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's great. Well, I always love to have a random question in here today. You're doing video production. Maybe Ted will stick with you on this. Are you have you listened to other podcasts? Are you a podcast listener at all, or do you listen, like if you're on a trip, do you listen to more music or podcasts?
Actually, listening to quite a lot of podcasts, and I actually been doing some research on But when we do research, I listen to your podcast because
there
you
you
have
go.
such a huge library.
100%.
It's basically everybody that you wonder is in there somewhere.
Just about. We've been close to, we've talked about a number of the people. Yvonne has been on. That was pretty amazing to have him on. And then, but Goran Anderson, he's a guy I talked to him on email.
Yeah.
And then we lost track of him. So hopefully we've still got a few big names of people we're going to get on here. So hopefully we can track down Goran again.
Yeah.
But that's great to hear. So podcasts, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What about, do you have a podcast other than the fly fishing related that you listen to out there?
Yeah.
Or a genre?
This is kind of a guilty pleasure, and it's I'm listening to podcasts about video games.
Okay.
I never play video game. I haven't played a video game since I was like 18.
Oh, really?
But I still, identify myself as a gamer, especially in front of my kids. So I'm keeping track of what they are doing, listening to a podcast about video game. Then
That's
I can
cool.
be.
Yeah.
Well, at least I think.
Yeah. So the podcast about video games, does it just kind of give you what the kids are listening or watching now, what they're playing into video games? Is that kind of what it's about?
Yeah, I'm trying to be done with the kids.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. All right.
I'm not. I don't think I am though.
No. That's the funny thing about it. As you get older, you feel like you're still there, but you're like, oh, I'm actually. To them, we're just old people. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
How about you, Emily? Are you listening to more music or podcasts when you're out there on the road?
It depends, of course, but I love listening to podcasts. I love yours, David.
Yeah,
I mean, like
amazing.
Ted said, you have so many great people on board.
We need more on your side of the pond. That's how I always joke about. We've had a lot of interviews, but again, we need more. I guess I'll maybe keep in touch with you to find some more good guests from over there.
Absolutely.
Happy to help.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
But I mean, so your podcast is really, really good. The one I fished with Simon Shue.
Oh, yeah.
In Montana and in New Zealand.
Yep.
So that was a really good one. And the one you did with Nick and Kate Hedica was really good.
Oh, yeah. That's right. With Kate, yeah.
But I don't. So I only listen to fly fishing podcast or a little bit of hunting because
cool.
I hunt a lot.
Oh, you do?
When I don't fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you hunting for? What's the species or the animal?
A moose.
Oh, moose.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So I live in a little forest village. We have 400 people. So all you can do is fish and hunt and cross skiing.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And you have moose. And moose are good, right? Moose you want to get one of those for the freezer, right? That's good tasting meat.
Yeah, it is.
Moose
I mean,
is good.
I hunt during the fall and then I have meat for the whole year.
There you go. Cool.
And I think, Emily, you should also mention, of course, that we have the playlist on Spotify for the production. We started it in Montana. And now we just, keep adding songs to it. And I think you can just follow our state of mind, we've been feeling.
So you have a playlist on Spotify?
Yeah, we do.
Is it a public playlist? Can you listen to it?
I think we should make it public.
We should.
Let's hear it.
And the name is The Wagoneers.
The Wagoneers?
Yeah. It's because we had a Wagoneer as a rental when we were in Montana.
Oh, you had a Wagoneer. There you go.
Yeah. And we really fell in love with it. And
I was going to say, how is that Wagoneer? I remember that looks like a pretty nice vehicle. Pretty good.
Well, we named ourselves
King on the road.
The Wagoneers.
There you go. I love that.
And
that's so good.
Yes, we have a really good playlist of the Wagoneers. Yes.
Yeah. Everything from Enya to Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, this is perfect.
So
well, this is a great way to end it because for a couple reasons. First off, we love music, so hopefully we can change that to public so people can listen to it when they go out of here, some Wagoneers. And then, I love the Wagoneer too because my dad, I'm not sure if you know, when I was a little kid, we always had these, Jeep made a Wagoneer. The Jeep Wagoneer was called the Jeep Wagoneer, and it was a car that people loved. My whole life we had these Wagoneers, and then it went away in the 80s or whatever the year was. And then all of a sudden this Wagoneer that you guys drove comes out, and it's like $100,000 vehicle, right? This giant. I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to get a Wagoneer, so I'm kind of living vicariously through you guys today on what. But you would recommend one if you could afford it. That would be a good rig to get.
I mean, just for the record, it's so far away from the kind of vehicle that we normal travel in.
Right.
So it's
Exactly, to get that straight out. Yes.
Yep.
But it was a cool wagon for sure.
It was cool to have. Yeah, I think you got to when you travel a little bit. I feel like it's okay to splurge, to kind of take a couple of things. If you got a little extra money, take that better seat on the flight, right? What's that hurting? So, okay. Well, good. So we got some music out of this. And like you said, I think we could leave it there today. We'll send everybody out to Wild Fish, Wild Places on YouTube. Emilie Björkman, they can track that down there. And then, this has been amazing. Really appreciate you both coming on here today. And I'm excited to follow the journey. And we'll be watching those here today and this week as we go out here. So thanks for all your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, if you want to check in with Emilie or Ted, head over to Wild Fish, Wild Places on YouTube. Let them know you heard this podcast. We'd love that as well. Check in with Loop Tackle. You can do that now, looptackle.com. And if you're interested in connecting with us, Wet Fly Swing Pro, we just had a new cohort come in. We're excited to be digging into all the content there. You can go to wetflyswing.com/pro. You can sign up there and we'll let you know when we open this thing back up. And we're excited to be jumping into all the content here. Also want to give you a big heads up. We have a big kickoff for Fishhound Expeditions, the Alaska Trip and Conservation event that we're doing this year. Salmon State, Susitna River Coalition. If you're interested in checking in with that, Fishhound Expeditions always doing great work up there in Alaska. They've got the road system covered. They're doing some amazing stuff. Stay tuned next week. We're going to be doing a giveaway, your chance to win a spot up to Fishhound this year. All right, I got to get out of here. Really enjoyed this one. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, or evening, no matter where you are in the world. And look forward to talking to you on the next episode. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.